Hello fiends, and welcome to another Halloween edition of Figure Study, where I don't have a sketch planned or anything like that this year, but I do have some what I think are thematically appropriate figures to look at. That being Kingdom Blackarachnia, Kingdom Shadow Panther, and the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Worlds Collide 4-pack version of Blackarachnia. Because it's Halloween, so spiders and a black cat. I think it fits. As you might be able to tell, I did the spider leg swap between the two versions of Blackarachnia, which is pretty easy to do, and it's funny because I had actually been intending on just getting this Blackarachnia out of the 4-pack and like swapping the legs and then selling her off, but like there's enough done with these colors that I actually really like it, so for the time being at least, I'm keeping both of them because this version has the more show-accurate look, and this version is just fun. And it's actually this figure that made me think I wanted to do the Halloween video on these toys in general, because I mean, look at this thing. This is one super Halloween-y color scheme. Like, you've got some black, you've got some orange, there's the purple, the green. It screams Halloween to me. This feels like an actual Halloween decoration, but as a Transformers toy. And of course, Shadow Panther, Black Cat, it just fits. So yeah, we're looking at some Halloween-themed stuff for the first time in the existence of this channel. It's an actually thematically appropriate subject for Halloween. Now, to kick things off, let me clear some stuff out of here. So we're going to start with Kingdom Blackarachnia, just because. I guess we're just going to go left to right. So yeah, I am surprised by how much I like this mold, because it's just a robot extremely awkwardly balled up with like some legs sticking out of the sides, but like it does a surprisingly good job of looking like a really creepy spider. Yeah, there's some stuff that you've got to make concessions for, like the shoulders that are just hanging out under the spider head, and the robot arms going all the way back underneath, and the faux spider head back here. But I don't know, I really like it. The silhouette of this spider is spot on. It's so good. As for whether or not this looks better with the black legs, I don't know. I kind of prefer this Blackarachnia with the brown legs. I know it's not like ideally perfect for the spider in question, but like I feel like this is more show accurate, and I just kind of like that the legs stand out a little bit more. Also, I have to say, just in general about this mold, not talking about the leg exchange, I really think it's fun how the tips of her claws poke out of the back and look kind of like overly pronounced spinnerets, which I think that's what this bit on a spider is called. The bit that they use to help kind of make the spider silk and stuff that comes out of their butt. Deco-wise, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. It's like black with some red and then some of the kind of yellowish gold plastic showing, because where could you really hide it? You've got a bunch of little red eyes and then the red pattern along the back. I feel like at a glance, if you were looking at this kind of from a distance and weren't paying much attention to this bit, this kind of works as like just a fake spider decoration. I don't know what to say. It's just really impressive to me. I like this mold as much as I wasn't sure I was going to. I am extremely happy with this. So moving along to Shadow Panther. Shadow Panther is a repaint of Cheetor, and there's the only difference in molding as far as I'm aware is the robot mode head, which is a throwback to Cheetor's mutant head from the original toy line. But yeah, as a cat, I think it works pretty well. It's, you know, black all the way around. It's a very simple deco, all things considered, for the cat mode, but I like it, and I like the bright red eyes that stand out really nicely. Some decent articulation in here with the ability to go in and out at the forelegs and some kind of butterfly motion front back, and of course spin. You've got elbows, you've got ball jointed paws. For the back legs, you can rotate out a little bit, you can go forward and backward a little bit, you can bend the knees a little bit, and you got the paws, again, ball jointed paws. So articulation, pretty decent for Shadow Panther, and by extension Cheetor, because, you know, they're the same mold. Oh, also the mouth does open and close. The head doesn't move, so you can't get too overly dynamic with it, but I think what you can do with this is pretty solid. The only thing that really disappoints me with Shadow Panther in particular is the fact that they made these joints bright yellow. it stands out so much against the black. It just seems like if these were black or like a darker color of some kind, I just don't think they would stand out as much. As it is, you've got like visible hinges and stuff all over the place, and it's a little bit like, eh. And as for the detailing, you get some nice fur texture along the outside here. And of course, that little Shadow Panther face. And I guess this works as a panther. Now, bringing back Blackarachnia, because I forgot to talk about a few things, there is some nice texturing along the, I think this is the thorax section, abdomen section, whichever section this is on the spider. This big bulgy area back here is some nice texturing, kind of makes it look a little bit either pitted or possibly hairy. And then there's some kind of plated looking bits along the front for the head / face, and then you've got the little mandibles. The articulation for this mode is very limited. It's just the ball joints for the spider legs. All 8 of them have ball joints, and then these bits here can rotate up and down. I prefer to leave them rotated up because I think that looks best, but you can rotate them down if you want. The only thing that stinks is sometimes rotating these can cause the hands to come unseated, which stinks a little bit, but you know, you can work around it. Yeah, effective looking spider. And speaking of effective looking spiders, let's move on to Blackarachnia. This version, as I've said, is very over the top, but I really like this color scheme, and I didn't think I would, but like in hand, I really enjoy this. It's contrasty and conflicting colors and garish and kind of ugly, but like in a way that really works. I think the black legs actually work pretty well for this, because, you know, you could do the brown legs and that's what it comes with, but I kind of like having all of the kind of garish colors of this limited to the center mass of the body. I don't know why I prefer that, I just do. The green and the purple are kind of a similar tone. They're a bit muted, not quite pastel-y, but they work really well together, and I really like this kind of very soft focus metallic blue that's worked into, I don't know if it's painted on or if it's actually part of the molded plastic. It's hard to say for sure right now. I didn't really analyze it too closely, but I really like this metallic blue that they've got going around the spider body section. Kind of makes some of those details stand out a bit. Makes the spider itself look a little iridescent almost. And it is an absolute mess in terms of like the color scheme. It's very, very all over the place, but I love it for that. I also kind of like how they made her hips purple instead of whatever color the rest of like the spider body is. So now it actually changes up the look of the pattern on the back of the spider compared to the original Blackarachnia. You've still got the same patterns, but with these hips being purple there, it looks like the pattern kind of goes out a little bit more, whereas here it's just your eyes kind of focused on the red. Kind of makes this feel like a different character almost. I know it's meant to be Blackarachnia again, but just having a different pattern on the spider body, I think goes a long way. Aside from the paint and the head, this is exactly the same as Kingdom Blackarachnia, so there's no real change there. But I do really like this mold, as I said. I'm genuinely surprised, but I do like it. So let us move our spider back here, bring in Shadow Panther, and I'll bring in other Blackarachnia as well. Adjust this. Now let's readjust a little bit more. Okay, there we go. And now let's do some size comparisons. Here they all are with the standard deluxe squad, more Halloween appropriate deluxe squad, I think. And as you can see, they're not particularly big. I mean, I know deluxes are kind of all over the place in terms of size these days, and Kingdom definitely, especially the beast formers, because like Blackarachnia is pretty tiny compared to the bulk of an older deluxe, and Shadow Panther / Cheetor is also noticeably smaller. I don't particularly mind. That's just kind of how things have shaken out because of, you know, the way the world is now, but it's noticeable. Though in my mind, it doesn't really bother me because I feel like they look great and they're fun to mess with, so I'm okay with it. And because Halloween, here they are with the Dark Tank. Okay, time to transform everybody here. So I think I'm going to start with Shadow Panther, and we're only going to transform one of the Blackarachnias. So we'll just move Kingdom Blackarachnia off to the side, start with Shadow Panther, and here we go. And here we have our trio in their robot modes, and again, this looks really cool. Really like it. I have no prior knowledge of Shadow Panther as a character or a toy or anything like that. I'm just going off of this. And funny story, the whole reason that we got Shadow Panther, the whole reason that I wanted to get Shadow Panther is because Shadow Panther is a nickname that we've given to Finley. Every now and then we'll call him our Shadow Panther. And this is completely unrelated to me knowing anything about a toy called Shadow Panther. That's just a nickname that happened to fit, so we've gone with it. So it was kind of like, all right, there's a Transformer that's just come out called Shadow Panther. Gotta get it. As for the two Blackarachnias, again, I really like how different the deco is for both of them. The Kingdom version is more, you know, accurate to the show, which granted I don't have a ton of nostalgia for, but I can appreciate the accuracy. And also, supposedly, from what I've understood from like TFW discussions and seeing images, I think the arm swap with the spider arm swap with Blackarachnia, the Kingdom version, is more accurate to the show with the kind of brownish, goldish spider arms. It's a really easy thing to do too. It's the swap is just, there's a mushroom peg on the inside of the shoulder section there, and also underneath the like just above the elbow there. So you just pop it out and then pop the other arm in, and that's all you gotta do. She does suffer from having spider arms just hanging off of her regular arms, which can be a little bit awkward in terms of positioning and stuff like that, but I find it doesn't get in the way too bad. And also, if you really wanted to, you could like rotate it around towards the back so that it's less prominent in the silhouette. Almost makes it look like she's got wings in a way, but they're attached to her arms. But you know, it's Blackarachnia. I feel like she kind of has to have the arms sticking out a bit. I think this works pretty well as a Halloween trio, especially the Worlds Collide multi-pack version of Blackarachnia. Where did we start with? I guess since we started with Blackarachnia before, we'll start with Blackarachnia this time. So starting with this version of Blackarachnia, I really, really like this deco. It is ridiculous, but I love it. I love the colors, I love the combination, the really garish combination of this purple, this kind of metallic-y goldish orange, the metallic blue, the dull green. It all works well together in the fact that it doesn't really work, but like it doesn't work so badly that it does work, if that makes any sense. I really like this with the black arms. I think that just kind of, it tones it down enough. Because if you imagine this, but with the these arms that are like that color, it's a bit much, I feel. So the problem though that I have with the paint distribution is you don't get much. It's in a few places, but primarily it's like in the waist section here, and then there's the leopard print on her chest. That's absolutely ridiculous, but I love it. And then oddly you get these kind of tiger stripes almost on the calves and the sides of the claws. I mean, I know this is in reference to something, it's just, you know, there's not a lot in terms of like fancy paint applications compared to Kingdom Blackarachnia, but there's much more in terms of color variety. It's not just black and yellow. The tampografing and the painting that is here looks pretty good. And again, I just love how absurd this color scheme is. This is a very, very Halloween color scheme in my mind. Bringing in Kingdom Blackarachnia, you can see just how much is different here in terms of the coloring. Like the molding is exactly the same except for the heads, but the coloring is very intense with this version. Kingdom Blackarachnia doesn't have the detailing along the calves, and the torso detailing isn't quite as unique, and she doesn't have that fun kind of metallic-y color that this version has, but she does have that extra paint on the thighs and like all these stripes on the claws. And for the chest piece, the collar is painted in black, and she's got the little Predacon logo there, in addition to the logo on her forehead for some reason. This is another thing that I like kind of the brown spider legs for, because like I know it's supposedly more animation accurate, but also I just like that it mixes up the color scheme a little bit, because it's all black and yellow here. So this, even though it's similar to yellow, it still mixes it up a little bit more. Now in terms of the head sculpts, this version, the Worlds Collide version, has the, I forget if this is the mutant head or battle mask or what, but it's basically like a version of, I believe it's the mutant head that it's homaging, which I think is cool. And I kind of like how the head is like all purple with just like the faceplate done in kind of like a dull gold almost, and like the piercing white eyes. And then you've got Kingdom Blackarachnia, where the head is predominantly black with some yellow, a little bit of gold in the mouth, the black eyes. And I like how different these styles are for this mold. And I really do like this mold. It's definitely got some problems. Like, it's a little bit small. The transformation is kind of silly because you're just like balling up a robot, but I do kind of think it works really well for what it does. Spinning the figures around, you can see that you get that spider pattern along the back there. And I think she cleans up really nice. Like, yeah, there's this bit on the back for the kibble, and technically you've got the spider legs, but like the spider legs are animation accurate, so I don't really count that as kibble. The only thing that I guess is a bit of a shame is they didn't paint the spider eyes on the back of the head for either one. And yes, the spider eyes are still back there. Not a deal breaker. And moving Kingdom Blackarachnia off to the side again so we can focus more on Worlds Collide version. Because again, same mold, but wanted to talk about a couple things with this mold in particular. You may have noticed I have not shown off the accessories yet. I do have them and I will show them off in a minute, but I didn't have them on for the spider modes because, especially this one, it is very difficult to get the weapons attached. They tuck underneath the spider mode and kind of peg into these little mushroom peg slots in the arms. I have a problem with this specific figure in that the way this joint is molded, this particular receptacle part on the inside of the arm here for the mushroom peg for the spider legs, the way it's molded, there's some kind of molding error, so that if I'm not careful with how I move it, it's actually surprisingly easy to pop this out of joint. Like if I bring it up a certain way, if I twist it a certain way, it's just very, very easy to pop it out. And it's workable. And it's not like, I don't think it's a flaw of the figure's design, because I don't have this problem with the Kingdom version of Blackarachnia. It's just that this particular figure has some kind of weird molding error that has the spider legs pop out really easily. And because of that, that's why I haven't shown the accessories yet, because trying to peg them in, especially into this one, actually pops the spider legs out of joint. But they do come with accessories. Bring Kingdom Blackarachnia back in here and grab their weapons. And they're both the exact same accessory. Kingdom's has the kind of coppery color for the back section of the weapon, and then the rest of it is just molded yellow. And that can sit in her claw there. There's enough, it's like an actual molded 5mm peg port, basically. I think it's pretty clever. Like, you can't actually really tell that that's meant to hold a 5mm peg, but it totally does. And then the Worlds Collide version, it is painted a lot. Like, you can see that it is molded in orange plastic, but they painted the back purple, they painted this bit black, and then they painted the tip silver. So a lot of paint went into this weapon, and I don't really know why. Maybe it's just because of the homage, I don't know. But there they are, with their weapons. They look cool, and I really like this mold for all the problems that I have with it. I really like it. Oh, and there is the issue of the chest tab. I definitely had it break on both of these. Kingdom Blackarachnia, it broke right away because it's Kingdom Blackarachnia. It's impossible not to break it. This version, I transformed it once, and just the act of popping the chest out for the transformation, it stressed the tab too much. So I just broke the tab off on purpose. Now it does affect the motion on this version of Blackarachnia. As you see, if I move the head back, it moves the entire chest up. If you hold the chest in place, it's not a problem. Not too big a deal. And also there's just the ball joint in the head that you can use. And I'll go over articulation in a little bit, but that's a little bit of a problem. Kingdom Blackarachnia, it is less of a problem. What I ended up doing was going in with some floor polish and tightening up the joint for the torso piece. So now it's not super solid or anything like that, but like it sits in place solidly enough that the head movement doesn't affect it at all. So I don't have to worry about knocking it out of place when I pose the figure. It's not a huge deal. Now, moving the Worlds Collide version out of the way, let's go over articulation real quick. So, Blackarachnia mold has a ball joint at the head where it connects to the neck, so that can tilt to the side, it can look left and right, it can look up and down a bit. And then there's also a hinge down inside where the neck meets the torso, which can look up and down. So you can get some pretty decent up and down looking on the head. The shoulders, they're at an angle, so they don't go like straight up, but they can rotate 360. They can go in and out, and they can go out quite a bit because it's just one big hinge. There's also, because of the transformation, a slight butterfly motion. If you move the spider backpack out of the way, you can get a little bit more out of that motion there. It's not super duper pronounced, but there is some butterfly motion, and I appreciate that. There's a bicep swivel at the top of where the spider legs connect, and there's also a swivel below that, and of course the spider legs are still on ball joints, so you can move them around. And then you get a slightly over 90-degree elbow that can bend backwards if you want it to. There is no waist swivel, but given how this thing transforms, I don't know how they could have done that. The hips can go forward about that far, but if you start going out, you can go up a little further or a lot further, but if you're just going straight out, that's about as far as they go. You can go back pretty much all the way. The stuff's banging into the spider backpack. You go out further than 90. There is thigh rotation. It's pretty stiff, but it is there. The knee is pretty freaking wild. Like, it goes all the way. Because of the transformation, the knee can go all the way up against the leg like that. And then the knee spike can also move if you want it to. It is meant to move in for transformation. And I found to transform this thing into robot mode, if you just straighten the leg out, the spike will automatically assume the curve that it needs for that leg. So that's pretty cool. And as you saw with the ankles, they can go back about that far, forward that far because of the transformation. And there is an ankle tilt. So you can go out and in. It's a pretty well articulated figure. I think it's kind of interesting too how Earthrise RC was not great, pretty decent articulation, but not a great figure, because like, what transformation did that figure even have? You just ball her up and put her inside of a car that's hanging off her back. But Blackarachnia does a really good job of it, because all of this mass does go into the spider mode, and the only thing that's really covering it is this bit on her back, and that's very, very slight considering everything that this robot mode and spider mode do. So it is possible for Hasbro and Takara to make figures that have these like slender builds that can compact down and not have it just be curling up a highly articulated action figure underneath a car. This is proof that it can be done. Anyway, bringing in Shadow Panther, because I feel like I've talked about Blackarachnia enough for now. I really like this color scheme. The yellow, again, feels kind of intrusive in my mind, and I imagine this is because of these joints up here are because of this, and I don't know. I'm not really feeling the yellow. It's not showing up anywhere else except the ankle joints in robot mode, so it's kind of like why did we even bother with that? It just stands out too much, and it's not balanced well, in my opinion, but it's still a really cool looking figure. I do like what this figure does. The robot mode looks pretty cool. I like the mutant head, which we'll see more in a second. It's just that yellow is so bright. It kind of clashes with everything else. I almost wish that they had done this in silver like they did with like forearms and the pelvis thing that flips up for no discernible reason other than to just access the screw holes, and like the silver in the shins and the feet. I kind of wish that maybe this was silver, or maybe parts of it were silver. It's probably not due to the nature of the plastic and the nature of the transformation. Probably didn't want to risk scratching it up too much, but it also kind of takes away from the intense impact of the red for the eyes and the panther head. But other than the yellow, I do think that this very shiny silver and black color combination is fantastic. It's so nice, the contrast between the very dark matte black and the very shiny metallic silver. It just pops so nicely. Detailing wise, there's a fair bit of detail that's revealed here, or was visible in the Panther mode, but now works more as robot detailing because it's like front and center. And I kind of think it's cool how the Cheetor mold does this, where the paws flip up and kind of add to the shin detailing. It does make the shins, like below the knees, like the calf sections, kind of very oddly proportioned from the side, but I think it looks cool from the front. And it's pretty much just Cheetor all the way up until we get to the head because of the, it's got the thigh pads, the weird screaming pelvis, forearm tubes with, in this case, the little Predacon logo stamped on the forearm, which I think it's kind of nice having it in a different place. Of course, that panther head, which again, I really like those red eyes, but they're just overshadowed by the yellow in the shoulders. And then we get to the mutant head, which is very much the Beast Wars Cheetor mutant head, and I think this works as like a separate character. I like it. And that silver primarily for the helmet is so perfect. I'm not entirely sure if it would have benefited from having the eyes in a different color, like maybe the red here or something else, but it works, and there's so much of that silver distributed in the front here that it does make those at least read as eyes. And you also get some yellow on the sides here, and I do like how that silver goes all the way back. They didn't just like paint the front of the face and leave it at that. And he's got his weapon, which is this tail flail thing that doesn't look great because of this curvature here. I mean, I know if it was straight, it would look weird in Panther mode, but like you put it in his hand here, and I've seen several people complain about this, and I agree, where it's like if you have it in his hand like this, it looks like it's in mid-swing, so if he's just standing there, it doesn't really look right. And then if you whip it around this way, then it looks like it's just kind of sagging and the blade's facing the wrong direction. I kind of feel like this could have been handled a little differently. As for the articulation, he has a ball-jointed head, but it is very restricted because of the shape of the head here, so you can look up pretty darn far, can not really look down, cannot tilt to the side at all, can look left and right, and if you angle it up, that makes it possible to turn it much further around, but you have to angle it up to get it past a certain point, otherwise it bangs into this collar here. These bits back here, like the forelegs, those are still as articulated as they were in the Panther mode, and these flaps can move independently of the shoulders. I like to angle them back as far as I can. I kind of wish they could angle back more, but it is what it is. The shoulder joints do give you some pretty okay forward butterfly because of the transformation. They can also rotate theoretically all the way around, but because of this junk right behind the shoulders, you're not going to be able to rotate backwards very much. They can go out and up pretty much the whole beyond 180 degrees. You get a bicep swivel, you get a pretty decently over 90-degree bend at the elbow. The wrists actually swivel as part of the transformation, so that's cool. And this I thought was pretty neat. Even though there's so much going on with this guy, he does actually have a waist swivel. And the legs can go forward about that far. If you angle them out, you can bring them up more, or if you want, you can push this thing up and they'll go out further. So maybe that's why that moves, I don't know. I doubt it. They don't really put hip skirts on deluxes. Out only about that far, which I think is fine. There is a thigh swivel, but it feels weirdly restricted in a way. Like it gets to a certain point and kind of wants to stop moving and you have to force it a little bit, but it does rotate all the way around. The knee, unfortunately, does not bend to 90. It's just the way this is molded, it just doesn't work. And that is a shame because I feel like with the way that this transforms, they could have done it. Like this, the knee moves forward a lot, and this is the back of the cat mode. I feel like if there was just less plastic in there, then the knee would be able to bend a lot further back. And there's really no reason for it to not be there, because yeah, it'd be a little bit of a gap in Panther mode, but I don't think that's too big a sacrifice for a better knee joint, but whatever. And then the ankles actually have articulation. They can go forward and back quite a bit, especially back for the transformation, and then even get ankle tilts going in. Can't go out, but can go in, and that's pretty cool. The articulation on Shadow Panther and by extension Cheetor is surprisingly solid. Okay, that is a lot of figures and a lot of articulation, so let's get everything repositioned back here for size comparisons. And another Blackarachnia, and let's reposition the camera a bit. I know they're back there kind of far, but I just want to have everything in frame, you know? Anyway, here they are with the standard deluxe squad, and that they are definitely short for a deluxe. Comparatively, yes, I acknowledge that. I do think that what they do is still pretty cool, and I don't think that they're punching outside of their price category, really. They're just a little bit short. I know there are people who find that to be a huge problem. I don't. And again, I really like the Blackarachnia mold, so I'm fine with it being a little bit short. And here they are with the Dark Tank. So that is going to do it for Kingdom Shadow Panther and Kingdom Blackarachnia and Buzzworthy Bumblebee Worlds Collide Multi-Pack Blackarachnia. And I really enjoy these figures. Shadow Panther, in my mind, is probably the weakest of these three, but that's, you know, I am partial to the Blackarachnia mold at this point, so it's probably not a fair comparison to make. But I do think it looks cool, and again, that silver and black color combination is really striking. It's just that yellow, bright yellow in the shoulders. Really the only thing that bothers me about Blackarachnia in particular is this one with the popping out arm bit. I wish that wasn't a problem, but the articulation on all of them is pretty solid, especially Blackarachnia. The look is great, and I really love the ridiculous colors on this version. It's so perfect for the season, but like it's also just fun, and I'm shocked at how much I like this. Same goes for Blackarachnia in general. But as I said, that is going to do it for this trio, and I'm kind of surprised as I'm thinking about it. This is the first time I've looked at a Kingdom figure that is actually a beast former. It took me this long to look at a beast forming Kingdom figure. I need to do something to fix that. But hey, Halloween's a pretty decent place to start with that, right? Like I said, we've got 2 spiders, a black cat. It's kind of fitting. But anyway, that is enough of my ranting. What do you all think of any of this? What do you think of Shadow Panther? What do you think of Blackarachnia? What do you think of other Blackarachnia? Whether it's the molds or the color schemes or the articulation or the obnoxious nature of the tabs and the chests for all 3 of these figures breaking off very easily, which incidentally, yes, the tab behind the panther head for Shadow Panther did break off the first time I transformed him, which is fine, I don't care. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. The Patreon is still up, so if you're interested in supporting the channel, there is a single $1 tier that both supports the channel and gets you early access to videos. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and happy Halloween.